Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for attending this ceremony to announce the arrival of the Knife Angel here in Taunton. We've got a variety of people that will be speaking today. You'll be glad to hear I'm not one of them. I'm just here to introduce the people that are speaking. So can I start off with introducing the Ted Allen, who is the Vice Lord Lieutenant of Somerset.
Mr. Chairman, Councillor Best, Mr. Mayor, Councillor O'Donnell, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you all, and thank you all so much for coming out today. It is my pleasure and absolute privilege to welcome you all to the opening of this spectacular and poignant exhibition, The Knife Angel in Taunton, our county town. It's hugely impressive and portrays a significant message and lesson to our communities, and particularly to our young people. There are two very relevant aspects to which I'd like to refer, if I may. The first is the sculpture itself. It's an incredible work of art, I think you'll all agree, and so skillfully made from over 100,000 knives and blades, all sorts of blades, and they've been collected through a series of knife banks placed in many locations in every one of our 43 police force areas across the country. It stands 27 feet tall, believe it or not, and weighs a whopping 3.5 tons. It was created by the British Ironworks Centre in Shropshire to highlight the negative effects of knife crime and violent behaviour, and to honour the lives of those who have been affected by it. It is a national monument against violence and aggression. The sculptor, Alfie Bradley, and the British Ironworks Centre have so carefully and actually beautifully created a facial expression and pose of the hands that so powerfully portrays the question, why? Knife crime. Why? Well, why indeed? Which leads me to my second element. This evocative creation sends a clear message: to educate and raise national awareness of knife crime and violent behaviour, and to ultimately try and bring about social change. We, all of us, have a part to play in that. It is our joint responsibility. Every town, every village, every hamlet across our lovely county is a microcosm of our urban neighbours in the big cities not far away. And whilst crime may be at lower levels, believe it or not, none of us are immune from the influence of negative effects of violence or aggression, and especially our very precious young people. Across the broadcast media of TV and film, knife violence is so often overtly dramatised, and the message we all have the responsibility to transmit is to educate our most vulnerable members of our communities. Renounce carrying a weapon as protection, or that knife violence is a solution to solving disputes. It is so wholly unacceptable and absolutely appalling. This horrendous and sometimes tragic impact on the victims and the aggressors and their families, as we will hear in a minute, is immeasurable. We have to do everything we can to help and encourage people away from knife crime. And this Knife Angel has become a beacon of education and hope. It is a fantastic initiative to turn the tide on aggressive behaviour. Let us all use this opportunity to raise awareness, to inspire and to reform. and ensure that we keep Somerset as a safe and wonderful county in which to live and to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, which is Councillor O'Donnell, Mayor of Taunton.
Good afternoon, everyone. Very good to see so many people gathered here today. As the Mayor of Taunton, may I firstly echo the Vice Lord Lieutenant's welcome to you all on this very special day, where we come to welcome the Knife Angel standing behind me to our town. May I also thank the Vice Lord Lieutenant for his inspirational words that draw us to contemplate both the beauty and the significance of this sculpture. In my own reflection, when preparing for today, the question I asked was, why an angel? Well, angels have been part of our culture for many centuries, and in our stories and traditions, they have taken on many roles. One role that stands out for me today, especially when I recall the Christmas story, is that of divine messengers. They are sent to come and speak truth into our times. The message, that truth, the Knife Angel brings to us, has been so very well articulated by the Vice Lord Lieutenant, and will be again by those that speak after me, that we must stand against knife crime. My hope and prayer is that all who gaze upon this statue over the next month will hear its message, and in the words that the Vice Lord Lieutenant finished with, will become the turn of the tide on aggressive behaviour. I would now like to introduce and invite to the podium Councillor Federica Smith, who has been a major influence in bringing the Knife Angel to our town.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Councillor Federica Smith-Roberts, and I'm the lead member for communities at Somerset Council, and I'd like to welcome you all to the unveiling of the Knife Angel. This is a national monument against violence and aggression. We are proud to host the Knife Angel for the month of April as part of our commitment to making Somerset a healthy and caring place for everyone to live, work and play. The Knife Angel is not only a stunning piece of art, as you can see, but it's a powerful symbol of hope and healing. We hope that over the next 30 days it will raise awareness in our schools, in our communities, for local businesses and with you and all your families. This sculpture reminds us that violence is not inevitable and that we can all play a role in preventing it and supporting its victims. I will certainly be having those conversations with my children, and I hope that you all have those conversations as well. While Somerset remains a safe place to live with low levels of knife crime, we mustn't be complacent. The Knife Angel gives us an opportunity to educate and to inform about the dangers and the impacts of violence. We especially hope that our children and young people will reflect on the meaning and message that it conveys and encourage them to seek help and advice if they need it. We hope that the Knife Angel will inspire them to make positive choices and become ambassadors for peace in our communities. Between now and the 30th of April, there are also other activities and events planned to support the Knife Angel campaign to promote a culture of peace and respect. Finally, the Knife Angel's visit to us has truly been a collaborative project that involves so many partners and stakeholders to bring it here. We've had Clive Knowles and the British Ironworks Centre, as well as Alfie Bradley, who have between them brought about this impressive monument, and who both would have liked to be here today to see it here in Taunton and in Somerset. I'm grateful to the Taunton Town Council and the High Sheriff, who have generously sponsored the Knife Angel and provided grants for educational workshops. Stand Against Violence, who are delivering the workshops to local schools and youth groups so that we can help young people to understand the consequence of violence and to hopefully make positive choices. We've had Go Create, Taunton Independent Market, the Barnaby Webber Foundation, Crime Stoppers, Avon and Somerset Police and Taunton Minster, who have all helped to make this happen within our communities. And I need to give a special thanks as well to all the staff at Somerset Council from all the different directorates who have made this happen, whether that's in the cultural team, whether it's our community safety team, whether it's our communications team, because to bring it here for a month has been a truly incredible piece of work. I really thank everyone for turning out today and coming here to see this happen, and please do have those conversations with your families.
Taunton Town Council have been one of the main sponsors in bringing the Knife Angel here to Taunton, and I would now like to introduce Councillor Tom Deacon, leader of the council.
Good afternoon, everybody. As Mike says, I'm Councillor Tom Deacon and I'm the leader of the Town Council here in Taunton. The Town Council is incredibly proud to have supported bringing the Knife Angel to our county town and to our town centre. Our sincere hope is that its presence in such a prominent location, in an incredible location in our town, will start conversations across our community, raising awareness of the impact of aggression and violent crime. We know that there are a number of local organisations, some of which have their origins in very tragic circumstances, and they're already undertaking incredible outreach work in the field of anti-violence across our community. The presence of the Knife Angel will reinforce that amazing work that they're already doing, and importantly bring it to a much wider audience. I hope that everyone here today and everyone watching will encourage friends, family, anyone they can to come and join the Knife Angel, to come and take a moment to reflect and to start those conversations, whether at home, whether at work or whether at school. It's the conversations that drive change and drive the action that I think we all want to see. As Federica's mentioned, we were pleased to be able to offer specific grant funding to organisations to support work alongside the presence of the Knife Angel. And shortly I'll hand over to Adam Foraker from Stand Against Violence, who was awarded that grant funding from the Town Council to enable them to undertake some essential outreach work during the month of April whilst the Knife Angel is here in our county town. But before I do, Federica and I would like to just present some very quick certificates on behalf of Clive Knowles and the British Ironworks Centre, just to recognise the support that key people have made in bringing the Knife Angel to Taunton and to Somerset.
This is actually presented to Councillor Tom Deacon in recognition of his positive impact upon Somerset and addressing a national blight and the support provided in assisting the UK tour of the Knife Angel.
And the first certificate I have is for Councillor Federica Smith-Roberts for the same reason.
I'm presenting this one to Go Create in recognition of their positive impact. If Go Create are here and would like to come forward to receive it.
So I would like to present a certificate to Ted Allen, the Vice Lord Lieutenant of Somerset.
And this certificate goes to the Mayor of Taunton.
And finally, next I've got to Councillor Mike Best.
And this certificate it goes to Adam Foraker and Stand Against Violence.
And finally, I'd like to present this certificate to Emma Webber and to the Barnaby Webber Foundation for all of their support and the amazing work that they can do.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, you've heard Stand Against Violence are actively working in the community, going out to try and teach people to go against this terrible acts of violence that go on in our communities. gives me great pleasure to introduce Adam Foraker as our next speaker.
Today we launch a month-long awareness campaign in Taunton and Somerset, looking at violence within our community. We are privileged to be able to play a part in this event, and it is inspiring to see this fantastic piece of art installed in our town. Stand Against Violence was founded here in Taunton after the murder of my brother Lloyd back in 2005, and has been supported by the local community and funders for almost 20 years. Our work in schools, with businesses and in prisons changes attitudes towards violence through education and training. More than 80,000 young people every year take part in sessions with us. We aspire to give everybody the chance to live in a world without violence, and have seen great results with young people being less likely to engage in violence as a means of conflict resolution following our input. I know that some may see this installation as a failure as a society to tackle violence and knife crime, a representation of a rising wave of violence and aggression within the community, but this is not true, nor should we see it as such. Violence in the UK is now at its lowest point since 1995. So why is it that every time we turn on the news, every time we scroll social media, do we see so many stories of more incidents and deaths as a result of violence and knife crime? Since the explosion of social media, not only do we now get national negative news to our doorsteps, we also get global news. And with clever algorithms, we are shown more and more of this. So in today's world, we no longer only know about things that would have once shocked us in our local communities, but we receive a daily bombardment of global disaster and negativity. We are conditioned from an early age to fear the world. Violent and negative storylines run through our soaps, our TV series, and the social content we watch online, and exposure to this is more damaging than playing a violent video game or watching a violent film, because it is insidious. Let us ask ourselves this question: why is it that we remember or are more engaged with positive? It is thought that we are quicker to process and remember negative news due to its potential threat to us, a hangover from our early days as hunter-gatherers when we needed to process and remember these threats. But today the constant streams of negative news only serve to create a fear of our world by suggesting threats are around every corner. This can lead to overwhelming anxiety and depression, and affects our desire to engage with others, and negatively affects how we interact. As Shirley MacLaine said, fear makes strangers of people who would be friends. Today we have less a problem with violence and more a problem with fear. Fear of crime, fear of being attacked or mugged. And we are brought up in a world where we see confirmation daily that we are as likely to be beaten or verbally abused for making eye contact with a hoodie-wearing teenager as we are to be greeted with a smile. Many young people who carry knives will do so out of this fear. Many people who are quick to engage in violence will also do so out of a fear of being attacked first. This fear drives an increase in knife carrying, which in turn drives an increase in knife use. Fear narrows our vision, reduces our ability to make informed choices, and makes us more susceptible to believe what we are told. Fear paralyses communities to stand up against violence and crime. It prevents us from challenging violent activity. It traps our young people into county lines. Until we are able to understand and overcome our fear, we will not progress in our desire to end violence and protect our communities. Marie Curie said, "Nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more, so that we may fear less." Projects such as the Knife Angel are not here to reinforce a message of fear, but to cast a light on the darkness of fear that has been cultivated by negative news and storylines that have invaded our daily lives. The work taking place this month will aim to raise awareness of the truth around violence in an effort to lift the veil on misinformation and negative bias. It is only through understanding our behaviours that we can seek to change them. The very fact that campaigns like this, Stand Against Violence, and the Barnaby Webber Foundation exist is because we are part of a society that is determined to say no. We are determined to eradicate violence, and we have hope that this is achievable. Organisations and campaigns such as ours have grown, not just because they are consequences of negative events, but because we are part of a hopeful society and one that rises up against fear and hate and feels able to make a difference. To leave you with one last quote from Nelson Mandela, I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. This is something we must keep firmly in mind as we work towards conquering our fear, looking for the positivity around us and challenging the perceptions we have of our world. Through improving awareness and understanding, we can overcome that fear that is paralysing us into inaction and preventing us from truly achieving a peaceful and safe community in which we all want to live. So next time you are confronted by negative news, think of this angel, reflecting light into darkness. Seek out the positive in your community. It may be small and simple, but kindness and love can be found anywhere and much more readily than the violence we fear. Thank you.
Our final speaker is no stranger to the act of knife crime, the tragic loss of her son Barnaby, and the senseless act of an individual to take away his life and of others will be on their family's mind for all time to come. So can I introduce Emma Webber?
Thank you, everybody, and particularly Adam. Thank you for your beautiful words. And you must Google quotes really well. You do better than me. In some cultures, it's said that spirits of those that have passed come on the wind. And in true fashion with my eldest, it's blowing a proper hoolie today. So thanks, Barney. It's very difficult to find appropriate words for today. Speaking as we have had to in front of countless media and press is normally fairly anonymous. However, addressing our hometown with faces and places we know so well is much more difficult. I'm going to give it a try, and I'm not catching anyone's eye. Firstly, I'm so glad that our council and the sponsors here today have enabled this very important sculpture to come to our county town. In a time of financial concerns and budgetary constraints, I know it's not an easy decision to make, but thank you all for being brave enough to do it. Barnaby Philip John Webber knew this would happen. Was a Taunton boy. Despite being born in the Mary Stanley unit in Bridgewater, a fact he hated, he spent all of his life at our home on the outskirts of this town. He went to nursery here, he went to school here, he learnt to drive here, he played cricket here, so a shout out to Bishop's Hull and Staple Grove cricket clubs. He had his first job here, another shout out to the little wine shop, and even his first serious girlfriend, and I'm not shouting that one out. So having him leave to go away to Nottingham University in September 2022 was bittersweet. We missed him deeply, but we were so proud of him and so delighted that he had found a university course he enjoyed in a new city which he loved, and of course a chance to make loads of new friends and play yet more cricket. His life was lost, his future was stolen, and alongside that, our hearts and souls as a family were broken by a senseless, cruel, premeditated knife attack at 4:04 a.m. on Tuesday the 13th of June 2023. Why? I'm sure that's a question asked by the very many people who are struggling and suffering just as we are, victims of knife crime. Why him? He wasn't doing drugs, he wasn't involved in gangs or in any form of altercation. He and his beautiful friend Grace were just walking home from a fun night out celebrating their very last week of their first year of study. They were just walking home. In fact, they were less than 3 minutes away from the safety of Barney's student accommodation when they were attacked. Such a cruel blow, such a terrible sliding door moment, and such a horrific twist of fate. There are so many ifs and buts. However, the fact that Barnaby Ian and Grace were entirely innocent victims of knife crime carried out by the monster that is Valdo Cullercane is not the point I want to make today. The why that I want an answer to must be asked of our authorities and government. Why is the epidemic of knife crime in this country not being properly addressed? If you carry a knife in England and Wales and you happen to be caught with it, it's very unlikely you'll receive anything more than a stern warning and hopefully having it confiscated. If you're caught with an unlicensed gun, however, you're almost certain to be arrested and charged of carrying a lethal weapon. Gun crime equates to 4.9% of homicide in England and Wales, and knife crime equates to 41%. I'm not a mathematician, a policeman, a legal expert or a politician. I'm just a grieving mum. But it's crystal clear to me that this very, very serious problem that's not going to go away is only in fact going to get worse. Knives, when carried and used inappropriately, must be classed as a lethal weapon. There must be stronger and more stringent rules and laws introduced, including the widening of stop and search powers. We must find a way to denormalise the carrying of them. We must find a clear deterrent. I'm fully aware this is not a quick fix or an easy solution. There are many complex reasons why knife crime is so prevalent in our society, but that cannot stop us. Through education, deterrence and real accountability, we can at least begin the process, surely. 244 people died in England and Wales last year of knife crime. If we could have deterred just 10% of these, then 24 people would still be with us today, and 3 of those may even have been Barnaby, Grace and Ian. It truly breaks my heart. So thank you for being here. Thank you to our council and sponsors once again, and please do make sure you take this opportunity to share and educate our story and message, because it's so very important and so very much appreciated. Thank you.
What wonderful and, dare I say, brave words by Emma on behalf of the Webber family. And can we just thank her again? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Can I invite you all now, please, to stand for a minute's silence, not just in memory of Barnaby, Grace and Ian, but all those who have been victims of knife violence over the years. I will conclude the minute's silence by starting a round of applause, which I'd again invite you to take part. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.